Okay, it's all yours, Sarah.
Take it away. Thanks, Evie. Yeah, when you were out at one point, we worked on, I went to play a video or something, and I thought I was super slick. And I was like, press play and it played, but there was no sound. And Eddie was like, there's something when you're screen sharing and playing. So I don't know, but that's where your magical Spotify stuff is living, I'm sure. Okay, welcome to Wednesday, everybody. Somehow it is May 24th, and we're in that time of the year where every week I'm going to marvel at how another 7 days have gone by. So get ready for that fun. And the upcoming long weekend and all the goodness. So we have two people to welcome to our group today. Sarah Meyer, I see you front and center on my screen. So first, help me welcome Sarah Meyer to the group. Welcome Sarah as a new agent. And then we also have Charlie Mundane to welcome this week to the group. Charlie, I know I saw you last week. I didn't see you on my screen right now, but if you're here, welcome. And everybody go on and give those hearty shout outs to Charlie and Sarah and encourage them to jump in and get started, right? Get started strong. Let's hop right to bucket fills, because today we do have Broker Bob, and he wants all his minutes squeezed in there. So who has something great to share, a story to bring some joy to the world, a bucket to fill, anything of the kind? Speak now or forever hold your peas and carrots.
I'll fill Eve's bucket. She was so helpful. I needed some help last week and popped in, and she just always right there with whatever you need, and just want her to know how much we appreciate her.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Evie.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, Norm.
Hey, hi everyone. I would like to fill all your buckets for the wonderful work you did as part of Red Day, and all the wonderful donations we got, and so thankful to all of you.
Thank you for that, Norman. And I will tell you, we'll fill yours right up, right back. And I know you're going to give a little update during Culture Moment. I just wanted to share from our agents the perspective and the bucket fills we all got in our hearts that day. To have your group on site, everyone was so helpful and kind and joyful, and getting to fill up almost that whole entire truck. It was really a great day all around. So thank you for all the energy you've poured into us leading up to and making sure that day was awesome. I hope I didn't steal too much of Bridget's thunder for your minute.
No, thank you. And I have a video. I don't know if Bridget sings. I'd love to play for you guys.
Let's just transition right to you, because we are going to give the Culture Committee Red Day update, and it's all about you and the Salvation Army. So let's just move right into it.
I can wait for Bridget if you'd like. I don't want to jump in on that either. Where she's at.
Bridget, are you here?
No.
Norm, I think it's all you. Bridget said
perfect.
It's all you.
She said it's all me?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Can I can't share the
You
screen.
should be able to. I just did the multiple sharing.
Yeah,
You should be able to.
if I can do this. It should be in a way of, because I'm at a place. Oh, here we go. And hopefully you guys are going to be able to hear this. Let me see if it comes up. It's not there, but give me a second. Let me pop this up, and I won't take your guys' time. But it's really something good for you guys to see, because there it is right there. Because this is a real you'll see
In
what
2010,
hold on.
you would have found me homeless, sleeping on this.
Hold on a second. Pause this thing.
In 2000,
Okay, and I'm gonna go share it. There it is right there. Share sound, optimize clip.
I don't see your screen share, Norman.
Coming right now.
There you go.
Okay, I'm gonna
All
play.
right.
Go ahead.
10, you would have found me homeless, sleeping on the cement.
We serve a God of second chances. As in the United States Army, and drinking was a huge part of what we did. 14 years later, I had lost everything and nowhere to turn. Even my own family wouldn't take my calls. But the Salvation Army took my call.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
So many people say, I didn't know you had a recovery program. We know you have homeless shelters, we know you have stores, and yet so many folks who need a second chance. don't know that we exist.
The Salvation Army's new national campaign to help people with addiction problems has kicked off here in San Diego.
I was on the street, I had lost everything, I had nowhere to turn. I learned to live life here, and I think my story, or the way I feel about the Salvation Army, is all about the second chances. When others wouldn't give it to me, they did.
My eyes were just flowing with tears of gratitude. I mean, there's not enough words to say how grateful I am for this program.
Para mí era otra oportunidad de vida, porque nomás estaba esperando pues morirme con las drogas.
I was 58 when I came into the program in 2011. I've been there ever since. I can honestly say Salvation Army saved my life.
I learned a lot here. They loved me until I learned how to love myself.
It's a family thing here, you know? I'm grateful for that.
Second Chances is about destigmatizing substance abuse. It can drive a donation strategy, fill beds, engage prospective employers, and enlist law enforcement. The centerpiece is the Red Wall, where donors, beneficiaries, and their families can share second chance wishes, answering the question, what would you do if given a second chance? Make Second Chances a part of your year-long outreach and create awareness, interest, and support for this important ARC mission.
So that's what you guys were a part of. That's what the Salvation Army is down here. And so as you participated in that wonderful day, as you got over 60 to 65 donors come up and drop stuff off, as we filled the truck, you were helping save lives, and you can see it's very impactful. It's very impactful for me. My dad's in that picture. If you've seen us together, if you could pick that out real quick. But we're gonna showcase some of this for Father's Day. And so I was restored thanks to folks like you who will take a day off from work, fill a truck with donations, that those things that are sold are then saving lives. So, you know, as we had a good time that day, as we ate some good snacks and donuts, you got to interact with some of our folks here, you really were saving lives. And so there's nothing more impactful than that, because that's the struggle today in San Diego County. Is I know you guys see this in our communities and the challenges we have with political and all this stuff. Bottom line is these are lives that we need to help. And it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who you are. Here in the Salvation Army San Diego ARC, we're going to help you. We're going to take that call when no one else would, as Captain Paul said. So I really wanted to play that video for you. I see Bridget smiling in the background, and it's just an impactful. In a couple of months, I'm going to have 13 years, you know, of not being on the street anymore. I was invited to this great leadership thing as of recently from Lieutenant Colonel Lascano. I'm going to be a part of it to continue to learn and grow in my own work today as part of the Salvation Army, and I'm just overwhelmed with joy. And I'm so thankful to Keller Williams. There's a place that I want to say, hey, you want to go buy a house or you want to go get some help in San Diego, I'm going to refer them to KW, because you guys rock. You guys are great people. Love all you guys. You're very kind to us. And I'm just so grateful for you. And so that whole big truck came back here and got sorted and now going into the stores. And as people come in, there's lives being saved. So again, my gratitude to you all. I thank you all. It can get emotional for me sometimes because it's very, you know, the fight is real, and it's real. And so I'm very grateful for Bridget. She's part of our advisory board. She's just the most amazing soul and person to work alongside and come alongside. And she shared you guys with us. And that I'm grateful. So thanks.
Thank you, Norm, for that beautiful share in the video. And it gives back to all of us to see the energy and the growth that happens and where the reward really goes to. And that's how we keep growing together. So thank you for being completely aligned with our world. And the more we can do to change the world and help people live their best life, the better we'll all be for it.
Man, thank you.
Bridget, do you have anything you wanted to say today, love?
I just want to thank everybody in our market center for coming together. I know we got all excited about the media and then they ditched us. And yet it didn't even matter because you guys came through. You guys came through regardless of that, regardless of the challenges. And I'm so, so proud to have Metro be my home and to be in business with each and every single one of you who gave up that day to work with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another incredibly successful Red Day year has gone by. Norman, I'm sure we will continue to work together with you and through the work that Bridget does. We are blessed to know you, and thank you for, again, filling our buckets and letting us see the gratitude and the joy that went forward from the simple work we all did. So
Thank you,
Yeah.
and everyone here.
Thank you. All right. So now we will, it's never a great transition when you come out of something so heartfelt and amazing. And, you know, there's so much great energy in there, whether there's tears of sadness or hope or joy or whatever they are. And yet what we do is bring tears of hope and joy to people, hopefully not so much sadness, with the real estate business we do. So Broker Bob, take that transition and give us some coaching spotlights, would you?
You got it, Sarah. I don't know if I want to follow that. Let's just do another 10-minute segment of Norm. He's definitely living his purpose. Okay, let's give a shout out for people doing great things in the coaching program. Sam and Yenny, they opened another escrow with a buyer. Congratulations, they're in growth coaching. And then Marlon opened a new construction escrow and closed on his own listing. Congratulations, Marlon. And then Joel, he's in launch, joined the office's new ISA program. So I'm going to expect great things from Joel and see how that works. And then also on Coach, that was, Coach Alicia's team. And this is on Coach Lisa's team. Amanda Cook had her first escrow close. Congratulations, Amanda. And Kevin King, who's in growth with Deborah. Coach Deborah took a new listing. Deborah worked her magic. Congratulations. And then both Julianne and Kelly, both in launch, also joined the office's new ISA program. So happy smiling and dialing, folks. Back to you until I come back with my wonderful risk management.
We'll give you a minute to get it together over there, baby, before we get into the contracts and the details, okay?
Sarah, we're skipping movement. Sorry.
And now we're going to skip on past movement, everybody, and move along to property pitches. Does anyone have a new listing they would like to share or a buyer need to bring to the attention of all on board our mighty ship? Wait, you're all talking at once, so I don't hear anything. It's so weird how that's happening.
Sarah?
Yes, Judy.
Yeah, I have a buyer for 1.5 who wants to have a house with at least 4 bedrooms and a pool in the El Cajon general area within 30 minutes of El Cajon. So I guess it could be as far south as Chula Vista or somewhere around there. So if anybody has a listing coming up with those kind of characteristics, let me know. Thank you.
Awesome. 1.5, 4-bedroom, going once for Judy's buyers. Bridget, I see your hand up. Let's make a deal.
I have a listing coming up in Skyline Hills, hopefully by next weekend. If not, then it'll be the week after that. It's 239 Winewood, and that's one word. It is going to be listed at probably $675, and I'm pretty sure it's going to go quite a bit over that. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house, 2-story. It's got a massive yard up a big slope. It's actually on a cul-de-sac. So it's a nice little pocket there in Skyline Hills. And this lady, she makes me take my shoes off every time I'm there. She has maybe the whitest carpet I've ever seen, and it's not new. It's pretty old and it looks amazing. So if you want to come see a house that's not necessarily super remodeled, but meticulously maintained, this is going to be a great property at a great price.
Thank you, Bridget. Amy Bloom.
I have 3. Oh, I'm Gary Bloom today. I have 3 new listings that are all going on the market the first week of June. One of them is available for showing, and I've made arrangements with a couple of you. So I've got Paradise Hills, which is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. The kitchen and the downstairs bath are just about completely remodeled. We're going to finish that up by the end of the week. And we'll be going live probably the first week of June. That one is listed at 600 or 625. I can't remember. It's in the off-market worksheet. And then I have one coming up in El Cerrito. I'm not sure exactly the price. We're looking just above $1 million, I believe. It is a Hawthorne and Albatross property, and it's absolutely stunning. El Cerritos, which is just a little bit south of San Diego State University. That one is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And that should go live probably June 1st. I've got one in Allied Gardens that is a 4-bedroom, well, 3.5 bedroom, 2-bath, and that one is about 1,650 square feet. It's on Elsa Road, which is overlooking kind of the Mission Valley. It's a huge backyard with a beautiful viewing deck, very dated, but it appears to be in excellent condition. So that one is listed at $975. And I think I have one more. Oh, and I have a new one in Julian, super cute property in Julian. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. It's about 1.5 miles from Main Street. We are listing it at $425, and we're going in for photos this Sunday. So we should be on the market by about Tuesday. And that one's super cute. So check the off-market sheet and call me if you would like to take a look at anything.
And I heard that Julian property would make a really cute like Airbnb.
Seriously, I want to buy it.
All right, y'all, crowdsource some funds here and go run an Airbnb together. And without further ado, I will throw it to Broker Bob so he does not yell at me for going over time. Anybody else listings and buyer needs, throw them in the chat and let's make some deals.
Sarah, I would never yell at you, at least in public. Thank you very much. Happy Wednesday, everybody. So great to see we are seeing people still coming on to the meeting. And coming to the risk management. We have pretty high attendance numbers. I'm loving to see that. Hope everybody's doing well. And let's get into the topic du jour so you guys can get on your way and learn something. Gonna get my slideshow up. Give me just a second.
I see Evie dropping documents in the chat rapid fire to go with it.
Is she really? Thank you, Evie. I appreciate that. Let me get that chat box up for me on my end. Perfect. Eve, thank you very much. All right, as always, you're going to get the TCPA compliance. Just make sure you follow the do not call list rules and be aware of that. So I'm going to be like Ashley, except she projects 3 months out with her slides. I'm going to say what it is this month. It's National Hamburger Day on the 28th. So if you like hamburgers like I do, go get one. I miss my In-N-Out in San Diego. I just miss it. So haven't replaced it here in Chicago, but they have other things to make up for it. All right, what we're going to talk about today, hot topics. It's more like an alert today. And then we're going to get into the TC policy and review some stuff. We've had some back-end stuff with compliance. I just want to review again. Got some new forms that CAR will be coming out with next June. We'll talk a little bit about them. And I need to review real estate advertising guidelines, especially if you're brand new on this call. And I just want to make sure nothing's missed when you guys are putting stuff out there. And I hate doing this, but contract basics, I need to cover something that is missed even from seasoned agents on this call. And I see some of them here, and I'm glad you're here. And then we'll talk about the quick guide on entity buyers and sellers. It's really important that we talk about that because that's the actual alert. And I'm glad Ashley's on the call. She started her career in title. This has been happening.
Hey, Rob, share your screen.
Share it. It's not shared?
Nope.
Oh, I thought I shared it. Sorry. Thanks. Is that shared? Okay, there we go. Thought I had that in there. Okay. So this actually is the most recent case with one of our agents, and we don't know the outcome on it. So I'm not going to make any comments on it. But this is on the rise here in San Diego County. What we're seeing is people are representing themselves as the owner of the property and then enlisting a listing agent to take to attempt to sell that property. And so go and list it and then put it on the market and then come to find out that they are the actual owners of the property. So we don't know the particulars about this, but it is an alert right now. And how do you protect yourself against it? Well, the first thing before you even go take the listing is you need to make sure you go to the property profile on the tax records and see if it is in a trust. And if it is in a trust, then you need to have that the person that's going to be signing the listing agreement. And we'll talk about this later today on how to exactly do that, but there's the one-page document if it's in a trust. There's some stuff on if it's a corporation, you'll need to have a letter from the corporation, all that. You need that. I would get that prior to even putting it on the MLS, because the agent did all the work up front, got into escrow, got a sign out, did all the stuff that you would do for a listing. And now it's potentially going to go south. Potentially, we don't know yet. And with the agent working really hard to get it up and running, and then all of a sudden, no bueno for the sale. And I really hate seeing that, because you guys put a lot of energy and effort to get a listing and then get it on the market and advertise it, to have nothing happen with it. Okay, so I just wanted to review some transaction coordinator broker policy and self-managed transactions as we merge, not merge, but as we are now have a sister office, Signature. And I was brought on as interim broker in November of 21 over there, not thinking that I would ever stay. And then what happens? Ashley decides she wants to buy it. So now I'm stuck there. Thanks, Ash. No, I'm kidding. But no, it was, and so there's some rules that I didn't want to implement right away, but if you are with Signature on here, we're going to move into this arena where I do it exactly how we have it at the Metro office. And it's not too big of a change, because right now we're doing really well with it. But I just want to make aware for everybody on this call, especially if you're brand new with our office, you've recently joined us, maybe you came from another company, or maybe you're even just brand new in the business. There's transaction coordinators that we have on staff that are only qualified to do the TC work required in order for the compliance department to operate. And so it has to be a broker approved. They have to be with our company under our license. You can have an assistant that is unlicensed, but they can only perform the duties that do not require a real estate license if you do hire them. But we really need the license on that TC, because anybody that touches a file, here's what happens. If anybody that touches a file, when someone gets sued, we get called into mediation or a lawsuit, everybody is named on it. Everybody. We actually have one of our TCs that actually, this wasn't one of our transactions. She works for agents outside of the company. She actually was named in a lawsuit. So that's why we really need to have the TC under our license, so they get the E&O coverage that is necessary in case there's ever some pending litigation that needs to take care of. And then transaction coordinator fees. Some agents will want to, and if you are an agent, you know, in this current market, you might want to consider, I don't want to advocate this, but now I'm going to. You might want to consider charging your buyers or sellers, passing that cost off onto them, because our margins are getting so much thinner and thinner and thinner. And then can't tell you how many agents had to give up some commission to make a deal worth. You could recoup some of that cost with the TC fee being paid for the buyer and seller. But how do you do that? You have to do it, have the buyer under a BRBC, a buyer broker agreement. And then within that agreement, you make that a line item as an addition to whatever commission there is. And in the listing agreement too, you would add whatever the commission is plus X dollars. And you don't label it transaction fee. Mark, what's the word we want to label it?
An administrative fee is typically how I see it listed.
Okay, thank you. So label as an administrative fee. So if you have any questions, as always, reach out to me or Mark prior to getting your paperwork put together, and we'll give you guidance on that. Pretty simple fix. And then since we are a closed compliance with command, all that's done in there, it's pretty detailed about what an agent has to do or what the TCs have to do. There's a structure about uploading stuff and the reviews that go on, etc. And I get it when an agent might be making very small commission on a transaction that they might want to self-manage the transaction. But here's what happens. Mark ends up spending 3-4 extra hours just helping that agent do what they need to do to upload stuff into the command and get it right. And then we also see that the transactions not being uploaded in a timely manner into the command portal. And then it closes and all the stuff's not in there. And then once it's closed, we can't collect any more paperwork. What does it become? A nightmare for Mark and a nightmare if we ever end up in any litigation on some of this stuff. So we highly, highly recommend you leverage and get a TC, bite the bullet on that one. And if you're reducing your commission, say, great, but I need to implement a fee in order to compensate what I'm giving in because I'm cutting into my margins and I'm going to work for free on this. If you want to self-manage and it's costing time on Mark's end, it will cost, we have a $400 fee to do that. So I would highly recommend just hire the TC. Okay, let's do the new forms. I'm not going to go through each one of these. I've highlighted a few of them that I think are important that you'll need to know. The new forms won't be released until June. They are on car.org website. If you want to go see the forms in their preliminary state, in their draft state, you can even make comments on it. And then there is a webinar that they're going to host, and it's coming up the first part of June. That is in your handout. There's links in your handout. Let me see right here. So when you get to your handout, if you have the PDF on this, you'll click on that legal live webinar link, and that will take you to the place to be able to register for it. Okay, so if you are really excited about the forms, there's only 2 new forms that really don't apply. So I won't even have to mention them because they deal with property management, I believe. And we don't do property management. You as an agent cannot do property management at this company. But the buyer counteroffer, the BCO, and I haven't seen the form because it's on car.org. I'm just commenting on what they have in the notes. It includes an example in 1C explaining how an appraisal gap in the original offer is affected by a change in price in a counteroffer. So that's a welcome change because we still are having some appraisal gap offers that we're dealing with in the compliance team. They've changed the cancellation of listing, the COL. The language added to clarify that any of the numbered paragraphs may be checked by both options within paragraph 1 may apply. Paragraph 2 modified to avoid confusion over amount to be paid in event property is listed with another broker. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that language looks like. Cancellation of listing, there aren't a lot of those that get passed, but when that usually does happen, you're reaching out to me anyway. This one, they updated the disclosure information advisory, and this is a really important form that a lot of agents overlook. So basically what it does, it's the seller property questionnaire paragraph that contains the reminder that the seller shall provide current and past reports and other relevant documents. So here's where this kind of pops up. We've had a few escrows recently where the agent represented the seller and it went into escrow with the buyer, and the buyer cancels after inspection. And they sent the inspection report, which they're required to the seller, because any reports they get, they're required to deliver to the seller. And then the seller wants to conceal it. And the seller can't conceal because now it's a material fact. And so this disclosure information advisory form is important to review with the seller about anything they have that's either current or past. So current would be an escrow that just canceled, and they're in possession of an inspection report. Another important would be for past reports. Let's say they bought the property within the last 2 years, and maybe they have within their possession the past disclosures and inspection reports that they had from that escrow. If they have it in their possession and we didn't represent them, it would be suggested that they bring it out, because it's a good thing to disclose. When I got in the real estate business, I learned that. When in doubt, disclose. And because that's every case I'm in right now, and I'm in 5 different cases, and I can't even keep them straight, and I can't keep the attorney's name straight, but everything is about a non-disclosure issue, every one of them. So always remember that. If you're brand new, I want you to remember that, because here I am 22 years in this business, and I remember that 22 years ago being trained that way. And if we did represent this seller on that property, in other words, we help them buy this property, we definitely have to you are required as the listing agent to get access to those reports, find them, and then review them with the seller and say, is there anything within these old disclosures you think would be important to put in the new disclosures? And then give those disclosures as part of your disclosure packet. And then they did update the Fair Housing Discrimination Advisory. And this will be on a lot of documents. It's changing the word landlord to housing provider to be consistent with all other forms that are coming across the changes in all the ZIP forms. So it's no longer landlord, they're called housing providers. And that has to do with changes within the fair housing that enacted no landlord being a potential derogatory term. Here's something interesting that I'm sure you're all going to love. They updated the mobile home manufacturer mobile home purchase addendum. Now, I know you're saying, well, I never sold a mobile home, and once you sell one, you'll never want to sell it again, because it's not like selling a house. It's like selling a car, and it's a lot different. And I only bring that one up too, because, you know, I have to chuckle every time I have an agent that calls me and they got a listing. And I had one of our top agents got a listing with a mobile home. She has no idea what she's doing, so she's needing guidance on it. But here's the neat thing on it. Paragraph 8 modifies to declare that either buyer or seller may cancel if the buyer is not approved by the mobile home park. Imagine you're not approved by a mobile home park. That's just awful. Anyway, and then they changed the notice to buyer to perform. They added language to make clear that the notice is given, if the notice is given too early for some identified contingencies or contract actions, it is only invalid as to those contingencies or contract actions, but valid to others. So looking forward to that one. So take note of that when it does get changed. You will probably be calling me and Mark, what do I do here? Which box do I check? They did change something in the residential listing agreement. Let me get to that. Paragraph 4C added to address smart home features. And then paragraph 10B added to address presentations of offers, defaulting to offers to be presented as they are submitted and giving seller the option of holding offers to a specific date, and added contract information for sellers in signature paragraphs. So looking forward to that one. And then these are the 2 new forms at the very end that I'm only going to talk about. They're new. They do not apply to you. One of them is property management and one is commercial. They did change the seller counter offer. Same thing as the buyer counter offer. It includes an example in 1C explaining how an appraisal gap in original offer is affected by change in price in a counter. So look for that. The BCO and the SCO will have that change on it, and so will the SMCO, same thing. And then a modification on the SPQ, the seller property questionnaire. They added language above paragraph 1 for use if property contains 1 to 2 to 4 units. And this is the form, and agent's dream form, seller's purchase of replacement property. Language added to optional paragraph 1B to indicate that if seller has already entered into a contract to acquire other property, then the contingency for finding replacement property is eliminated. And paragraphs 4 and 5 were added to identify the buyer and seller respective rights to cancel. You shouldn't worry about learning all this. Again, Mark and I are going to do the webinar. And then if you ever have questions when it happens, hopefully we'll be there to answer it. And then the TDS added language below the title for use again if the property contains 2 to 4 units. And then I highlighted the TOPA, the tenant occupied property addendum, because this form is a new form. It came out this year and it's being missed by even seasoned agents. The TOPA, basically what it does, if you are representing a buyer and you're making an offer on a tenant occupied property and the buyer is going to occupy that property as their primary residence, and you want the property delivered vacant 5 days or less prior to close of escrow, then the TOPA sets out a what if scenario happens. So let's say the seller can't deliver the property vacant, then the buyer has the right to cancel the contract and recoup the expense from the seller for their inspection expense and their appraisal expense. So knowing that form is really helpful in understanding how to use it, because especially if it's tenant occupied and that buyer wants to move into it. And if you're the listing agent on it too, you need to understand that form if the buyer's agent is submitting that form with them.
Robert, on that form, there's another point to make. It's not just for tenants, it's for any adult living in the property other than the sellers. So like maybe they have an in-law living with them or something like that. The TOPA applies to the transaction. It's not strictly for tenants.
And I forgot to cover that. I did read that, Mark. Thank you for pointing that out. I remembered I need to
one
discuss that.
One other thing I noticed in our list of new forms is that there's also a new, let's see if it's new or if it's revised. It looks like it's revised. Residential listing agreement open versus residential listing agreement exclusive. So everyone knows we don't do open listings. Always use the residential listing agreement exclusive form.
Mark, let's go back to that TOPA, the point you brought up about the obligation of the seller to identify the names of all adult occupants in the property, whether or not they're paying rent. This happens a lot in some of our cases where they might have their mother living with them or a cousin or a boyfriend. In this one particular case, the agent did not clarify who they were and didn't clarify it in the TOPA. And then it comes down to the wire, and now the seller can't get rid of the boyfriend that's basically squatting on the sofa. So it didn't give the buyer an out. And I think in this case, the buyer just said, okay, we'll take the property with the buyer in it, but we need to absolve ourselves of any liability on that. So we need to make sure we cover our butt on that one.
The very top of the TOPA form, right below the caption where you put the addresses and the parties and everything, the first sentence says, tenant shall mean any adult person other than the seller who is occupying the property, whether or not they're paying rent. And this is the seller's duty to advise the buyer of that situation.
Okay, the next item is the Department of Real Estate. Do you guys read the spring newsletter that comes out? Do you guys get access to that? Do you guys see that? If not, you should find their spring bulletin. You can actually find it online too. But this last one reminded me of some education training I need to do. And the subject on the top is broker supervision requirements under California real estate law. So you guys think these are rules I'm putting in? No, they're rules that the Department of Real Estate have put in, and I'm just overseeing to make you guys follow them. Do I like all the rules? Probably not, but it's my duty as your broker to make sure that certain things happen. And if you read, any broker who fails to exercise reasonable supervision over the affiliated licensees practicing under their license, blah, 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 I'll basically get in trouble. And so if you get sour about the rules that we have, I want you to know I'm not the message. I'm only the messenger. So please know that I'm only doing it to keep you in business and keep us in business. I'm supposed to supervise your transactions, all the documents that have a material effect on the property, filing and storing them. I don't handle trust funds. We don't do that here. And advertising for it, any service for which the licensees are required. So we're going to go over that one because that's the important part that I want to talk about. Is it's called first point of contact and the requirements necessary. Well, it's not on here, so I'm going to say what it is. Okay. So any first point of contact would be any advertising you do, print, flyers, websites, business cards, social media posts, any post, anything of that requires that you, if you're promoting it to solicit business and marketing and advertising yourself or marketing and advertising a listing, then you are required to list 4 things on that material. You have to list the licensee's real estate number, the department real estate number, as well as our real estate number. So whatever office you're in, make sure you put the broker's real estate number, and then you need to list your name, at least your surname. If you got a long name and you got a big middle name, you don't need to list the whole name. So if you got a long name, but you need to list at least your first and last name. And then you need to identify Keller Williams Realty, either San Diego Metro or San Diego Signature, as the identifying broker. This goes on everything. So think about it if you're doing a social media post, and let's say you do a lot of videos, and even the video is like, well, how do I put all the information on that video? I'm just doing a Facebook Live. Just flash an image of your business card at the end of the video is what the DRE told me what to do. And that will get by. That's a requirement necessary to keep your license safe and straight. And then the reason why they have it is they want to, in case there's ever a challenge, their duty is to protect the public. That's what the Department of Real Estate does. So if they need to protect the public and the public wants to make a complaint against an agent, they need to know who that agent works for, i.e. me. They need to know who that agent's responsible broker is, because I'm the one that gets contacted. Okay. So just keep that in mind, is if I'm marketing and advertising my business, I need to provide a direct link back to my broker. So my DRE number, their DRE number, my name, and Keller Williams San Diego Signature. So if a complaint's ever filed, they know exactly. If there's 2 John Smith brokers in the state of California, they'll know who the right John Smith is. Okay.
Broker Bob, it's Russ.
Hello, Russ.
Hi there. Does that need to be like the KW San Diego Metro logo, or can it just be all 4 lines of text in a comment on the post?
Doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the thanks. Great question. Does not have to be the logo. It can just be in printed format. A good example would be go to look at what Chris Spade posts on all of his stuff he does on social media. Chris has it nailed. Just follow what Chris does.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, if you're on the phone, you're going to get more traffic to your social media page.
Good.
All right, let's do some contract basics. Seasoned agents, listen up, because there's a few of you on here that are making these mistakes. And then what happens is your transaction coordinator has to go in and amend the purchase agreement or even the listing agreement, but I only have the purchase agreement example here. Here's what we're seeing. We're seeing date prepared left off. So we see no date on that. We're seeing the APN number being left off. We're seeing the County of San Diego being left off if it's located in the County of San Diego. And what we really see that's annoying is the confirmation of agency. Item number 2B, to confirm who are the agents on the transactions. And then also the confirmation of their license number. Now, if you're using ZipForm Connect within San Diego MLS and you're bringing all that information over in, you still need to double check to make sure it's correct. On this one particular example, it was an example I did on a training class months ago, but I brought in this one listing, and this Horizon Real Estate, Kim Ward, this agent, she's both broker as well as she's the broker. So it's a one-man shop. So she is the broker on this deal. And then I put in my DRE number and then our DRE number, and then the appropriate boxes checked here about if we're representing the seller or the buyer. You got to check those boxes. Please, 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 your professionalism is to make sure that your contracts are filled out right. It doesn't do any good when you got to go back to your buyer or seller and say, I'm sorry, I need to have you fill this new form out because I didn't fill out the rest of the stuff on it. And by the way, the TCs aren't there to do your documents. They're not there to create them. I know some of them have add-on services where they'll create forms or documents, but they're not there to create your documents. You're there to be the ones that create it. Now, if you've leveraged that out, you're still responsible to make sure those documents are done properly. Because when you get sued or you're in front of the judge, you can't say, well, I didn't do that, my TC did it. You're the ones responsible. So please be careful. This is contract basics. You know, if it's coming from someone that's been in the business 20 years, that's where I have a concern that I'm like, I know you're rushing. You got a lot done, got a lot to do, but I was really anal, Annie, on my contracts, even though I'm a high DI. I really, really went through my contracts word for word because I knew I was bad at dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And even then I didn't dot the I's and cross the T's. So please just make that. All right. And then we have also given you, in relationship to the challenge we had with when an entity is with the title theft that's happening. Well, here's a document we've created. When you do a transaction and you take a listing in the name of a trust, or you do you represent a buyer and you put that, the buyer wants to put it in the name of a trust or LLC or corporation. Mark ad nauseum deals with this all day long because I think agents get afraid about how to fill things out right. And then they get confused. We'd rather have you run it by us first and get it done first. And if you, especially if there's title theft out there and you got this taken care of first, it would save you time down the road to all that energy and effort to put property on the market, and then it has to fall out of escrow. Maybe, we don't know yet. But this is a really simple form that Mark put together. It's in your, it's been in the, it's a PDF attached to the documents that have been sent out. It's in the documents that were sent out. Mark, do you have anything to add to this?
Not really. It gives you some examples there of, with the correct way to format names and things like that. I think the one thing I might add to it is that a lot of agents miss is that you can go into, if you're using ZipForm, you can go into the parties section. And then when you go in there, there's a place where it has signing representative. And so you could like put the ABC Corporation in the first name field, and then in signing representative, John Smith, CEO. And that way it appears correctly on the zip forms when it lays out the signatures that carry over into your DocuSign application. So go ahead and, when you have a minute, check on one of your transactions, go into edit parties and see how that signing or representative signing section works. It's just at the bottom of the party that you're editing.
This is also reviewed at contracts training. So we do this when we are doing the purchase agreement and the listing agreement as well too. Okay. I've also added again the correspondence log creation for your files, a link to that on how to set that up. That is, if you're brand new, this is a really helpful resource. to follow. And then let's talk about Mark's initial review and final review so you get your checks on time. When Mark does an initial review, he breaks it out into 4 different areas. The first area is the initial review completed and then action items. And the action items are what the agent needs to do. Action items for the agent needs to do. In other words, did they not fill out sections of the contract that need to be refilled and then have to go back and complete them and have your principals re-sign? So that's what you as the agent are responsible for, or you're responsible to see that it gets done. If you have a TC that does that type of stuff for work for you, don't rely on them to say they're going to do it for you unless they've agreed to do it. They work for it. Their responsibility is to keep the file straight, not do your transaction documents. The next section is the best practice broker recommended missing items. Agent response. Mark, did I get this wrong? Agent responsibility on the top one, right? I did. And then the best practices is just something we recommend. Just something we recommend. And if it's then broker to buyer agent's recommendations, and then the TC to-dos is the next section. It's what the TC is supposed to do. Not what you have to do, but the TC, and they know that what that means for them. And then in the final review, it's into 3 sections. Well, 2 sections. Add the missing items when they become available. And then it'll be a section where it says final review. These items are required for final review. That means in order for you to get your check, you need to have these uploaded prior to the final review being approved. And you'll see that little note. If you don't send in a correspondence log when you ask for the final review, the final approval and commission checks may be delayed. Again, these are requirements. We have to have this with the DRE. And the reason why we have to have the correspondence log, which is always late, that's one of the documents that the case we're in right now is the agent did not have a correspondence log. He asked me, what is that? So again, as your broker, I'm required to train and remind you that you need a correspondence log. Now let's talk a little bit about what a correspondence log is. Stop sharing my screen. And this will help you. And if you ever want information, and Matt Thornburg said I could say this, I can use him as an example. There's potential for a challenge with one of his escrow closings, and he was horrible at keeping a correspondence log. And there's a huge material fact that was never put in an email format. It was only discussed. And now the buyer's coming back potentially, and there could be some issues there. And Matt said, I can say this. It says, use me as an example. I was never very good at the correspondence log. And now I'm going to be really good at the correspondence log because I'm seeing how much trouble I'm going to possibly get in and how much they have spent a lot of time too, backtracking all their stuff. So it took away from their production. So the correspondence log should include anything that's a material fact about the property that you discover and you have a conversation with that seller or buyer about. And then even though you have the conversation, then you go back and reiterate that conversation in an email and send it to your principal to confirm the conversation. So an example is, maybe you had repair work done, and the repair work, and let's say it's foundation work, and the foundation work came in and it wasn't exactly how it should have been, and you had the conversation with the buyer, but the buyer says, no, let's just close escrow. You confirm that in an email that they approved it to move forward and they didn't want to do a secondary inspection. That's the type of stuff you confirm in your emails, and it'll save you headache, grief, aggravation, lost time on spending time actually generating income rather than losing income, and just an overall ability to sleep at night and maybe not even drink as much as you possibly are, because you're and drinking's pretty prevalent in the real estate community, from what I'm told. That's what I heard. cocktail hour starts like what, 1:30 in the afternoon on, every day? What was that, Chris?
Noon.
Noon at noon. I learned that very first year in my business when I was holding an open house on Caravan in El Cajon. And these two old agents came in there and somehow we had this conversation. And she's like, oh yeah, all the real estate agents, they're at the bar by 3 every day. Because I think we were talking about how this one agent wouldn't call me back. So I'm like, okay, I learned my lesson. All right. That's all. You guys, I feel like I'm a broken record, but I'm going to pound this into the ground about your correspondence log, because that's the one thing that can help save you from having to do. By the way, the E&O deductible is $10,000, which we share in a portion of that, commensurate with what your commission is on it. So if you received 100%, then we're not sharing in it. But if you received only 70%, then we'll share in 30%. So, and it's hit a couple agents. It's hit 1, 2, 3, 4, almost possibly 5 agents this month. And it's not an easy pill to swallow. It happens, and when it happens, it's like, remember, $10,000. Okay. All right, that's it. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So going back to about a half hour ago when we were talking about the buyers or sellers paying the TC fee, that only goes on the BRBC or the RLA, not the RPA, correct?
Correct. You never put
So
TC
if
on a
as a
purchase agreement.
listing, as a listing agent, if we receive an RPA that has that TC fee on it, we counter that out
Since,
because it's a RESPA violation.
it's a potential RESPA violation, you're exactly right, Alicia. So it shouldn't be in the purchase agreement. However, and the other thing to keep in mind is agents are and brokers are not parties to the purchase agreement. Only the buyer and seller are. So how can someone who's not a party make a promise to do something in it? So it's kind of okay based on a conversation I had with CAR legal staff. It's okay for the parties to generally agree to like a agent credit to a party or something like that in the purchase agreement, but it is not enforceable without a separate agreement, like commission instructions that say that, and then the parties acknowledge the commission instructions.
So if we did have a buyer or seller that agreed to pay the TC fee, that would just be a line item on the escrow.
It would, yeah, I mean, it would be there and it would be carried through, you know, by, if it was in the purchase agreement, it would be carried through there, you know, but actually they need a separate instruction and typically it would come from the commission instructions.
Thank you.
Is every euphemism of that also not allowed? I've seen listing administrative fee.
Well, can you say it again, Danny? Ask the question again, please. You're muted now. Now you're muted.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I said I've seen it with other euphemisms like listing administration fee and things like that. What about that?
In the listing agreement, it's okay for the brokerage who's one party to the listing agreement and the seller who's the other party to come to some kind of an arrangement like that. But in the purchase agreement is where it gets, you know, into a possible RESPA violation. And another question Alicia asked was, could a buyer or a listing agent remove that? And yes, you can. You could say to the seller, hey, this is not really appropriate for this to be in the offer. I suggest that we remove it. And with the seller's okay, you can counter that out.
I know that there's a pretty large, vast team here in San Diego who requires all of their agents to include that on an RPA. They call it their VIP buyer program, through which they have a $400 fee that's in the RPA. You're saying no matter what you call that, that's wrong?
Yeah, technically it's a fee that is, you know, not allowed based on RESPA. And there are some documented cases where they've, you know, gone ahead and said, no, these are not allowed, and people have been fined. But, you know, let's be honest about it. In large part, RESPA is not out there reviewing every contract and, you know, acknowledging it. Probably would have to rise to them you know, that awareness by someone reporting it, that this is consistently happening.
By the way, I totally agree with the people in the chat. I thought it was a hilarious way to call them VIP buyers.
It just takes one buyer to post close, make a complaint, and then figure out, wait a minute, I was charged $400. I wasn't told about this. That's why we don't want it in the purchase agreement. We want it memorialized on the BRBC and then on the RLA RLA. All right, Sarah, you want to send everybody off?
Au revoir. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Robert. I'd like to say that you ended with more people than we started with today. And go have a great weekend. See y'all next week. Get to work. Do your JOB.
Bye.
Later.